Welcome to the MRS or Mission Rehearsal System video. In this video, I'll show you how to drop in, configure, and use devices to receive signals from an outside source. In this case, it'll be the EWSS, Electronic Warfare Scenario Simulator. Alright, so what you're looking at here is a 3D container, and I'm going to show you a little bit about manipulating your view. First thing you do to manipulate your view is hit the space bar. When you hit the space bar, then, as you move the mouse, you can look around and see the environment. Also, you can use the WASD keys, and they will move you forward and backward around the environment. These are well-known gamer keys for maneuvering around in a 3D environment. Right, I'm going to hit the space bar again, get my mouse cursor back, and let's set up some devices. To do that, I go to the configuration view, and in the left-hand panel we see the devices that are available to us. In the middle there'll be a configuration connection view, and on the right side will be properties of any of the devices should the device actually have a property. First thing that we'll do is drop in a pan display, and in the pan display I'll just drop it right into the 3D view, and it also appears in the configuration view at the same time. And I'll put in a video scope, and I'll throw in a mission clock, and if we want to hear any audio, I'll put in an audio control as well. And one other thing we'll need, and that is the environment itself. So that's the EWS, which the EWS actually stands for Electronic Warfare Simulator, and that is the engine that runs underneath the EWSS. But the EWSS interacts with the EWS, and so does the MRS. Right, and one other thing, I'm going to drop in a spotlight because I'll show you a little bit about lighting in a minute. Right, as I said, over here on the right are properties. The spotlight has a lot of them, the video scope not so much, and many others don't have any properties at all. But that's entirely up to the designer of the device. If the device designer feels they need a series of properties, then they'll go ahead and put them in, because each of these devices is entirely independent from one another. Alright, let me zoom back a little bit, and I do that just by rolling the mouse wheel. And I'm going to set up the pan display and the environment, and I'm just going to wire them up from the environment to the pan display. The pan display will take the incoming signals, make adjustments to them for whatever the user has chosen, such as tuning to a frequency, and output them to a video scope in this case, and also will generate audio, and the audio generated will be in real time from the manipulations done to the signals in the pan display. So if you tune to part of a signal, you will actually get only that signal represented in the audio. Alright, we've made our connections, and we're ready to go back to setting up the devices. Alright, now the devices, I just drop them in anywhere, and that's usually the easiest way to do it, is to drop all your devices in first, and then maneuver around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move these devices, and to do that I just right click and select Move Device, and I'll just grab the arrows and I'll just position them wherever I feel is appropriate, and move this up a little bit, and this spotlight I'll just move him off to the side for a second. And I'm going to go back and maneuver around this environment. Also, you can see you can move the devices in and out as you like. And in addition to that, of course, you can also rotate your devices just by grabbing an axis and rotating around. Alright, let's go back to the pointer. Alright, we now have our devices set up. And we'll run our scenario. Now the scenario is one that I've already imported here in the EWSS. I'll go ahead and start it off. And you can see the platforms are going to move around and follow all their rules. And what the platform that we'll be receiving our data from is actually the B1B, and that's just because it happened to be there. But you can choose any of these platforms. EA6B, the truck, if you like, whatever you want to do. And I'll just go back to the B1B, and now we should receive our signals. Our signals are actually coming in at this moment, but our devices are not yet on. So I'll go ahead and turn the device on. That's just left-clicking right on the control and seeing what the selections are. In this case, on-off. Or if it's a knob, I can left-click and hold it and rotate around. You can see the knob rotating. Right, and that's true for all the knobs. And single buttons, you can just click those and you don't have to get a context menu. For a more complex knob, of course, you'll select where you want it to go. This is good because when you have this menu come down, you can actually be far away from the device, not be able to read the notation on the device, on the knob control, for example, but still be able to select it. Right. So we should be receiving signals, but I'll bet that our platform hasn't yet reached any place where the signals are going to reach it because of terrain. So let's speed this up a bit until we get to some signals that are actually become active. And here comes okay, some more signals are clicking on. That means he's starting to be detected, or the time is coming up. And I'll go back to normal speed. Okay. And we'll be getting some more signals now shortly. While we're waiting for those signals to show up, let me show you a little bit about the lighting. I'm going to back out of here. And you can see our scenario, or our configuration, and you see some signals popping in. And we have this light which we haven't done anything with. To manipulate that, I'm going to go ahead and go back and say I want to move one of the device, and that's this device. But before I do that, I'm going to go here and I'm going to go ahead and turn off the default light, because the default light that comes on to start is just a bright light so you can drop in your devices quickly. And in addition, I can also turn on and off the construct, which is just there for reference in 3D, so you don't get lost. Alright, so I've got this light, and I'm just going to manipulate the light out here, and I'm just going to... So as I move the light along, you can see it makes adjustments. And you don't always want to put a light in, but sometimes you want to put 2 or 3 lights in, and to get a different effect. Maybe perhaps a nighttime effect or something like that. Okay. So, as you can see, we have signals coming in. And what I'm going to do here, in this particular device, it only outputs audio and video when you actually go to analysis mode. So I'm just going to go over to analysis mode. And you can see that we have both video output here and audio that you're receiving as well. One other thing, if we have the configuration view, right, I can also disconnect the audio, for example, and then reconnect it, or the video, and you see that the video scope no longer gets a signal. There we go. And so it's a pretty simple system. In this case, in the pan display, I'm just clicking, and I can go right to the location I want, the frequency that I want, and then I can fine-tune over to it, fast or slow, or tune. And right now we're getting some more complex signals that occur. But this is the... turn that off. This is the MRS system, and I hope you've enjoyed learning about it and could use it effectively from here on out.